Did Democrats just start talking about Jeffrey Epstein? No. Hi, I'm U.S. Senator Patty Murray, and I was talking about Jeffrey Epstein in 2017. Why? Because Donald Trump nominated Alex Acosta to be his Secretary of Labor. Now, who is Alex Acosta? He was a former federal prosecutor who gave Jeffrey Epstein what has been referred to as the sweetheart deal of a lifetime for his crimes having to do with child sex trafficking. So when Mr. Acosta was nominated, I immediately asked the Trump DOJ to turn over the documents from that case. Guess what? They didn't. I voted against Mr. Acosta, but he ended up getting confirmed, and that wasn't the end of things. Not long after, local reporting done by the Miami Herald uncovered and resurfaced new details about Epstein's crimes. So I wrote the Inspector General of the DOJ asking for an investigation into the department's decision-making when then U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta delivered a sweetheart deal for child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. No dice there either, but in 2019, after a federal indictment of Jeffrey Epstein on sex trafficking and conspiracy charges, I called for Secretary Acosta to resign, and just a few short days later, he did. Now, why would Trump appoint someone like Mr. Acosta to his cabinet? Well, you'd have to ask him. But fast forward a bit, and a question I hear constantly nowadays is, why didn't Joe Biden release the Epstein files? And I want to raise a key point here. The Epstein case was still an open criminal investigation during the Biden administration. There was an open grand jury. And even after Maxwell's conviction, the case was on appeal. They couldn't release the case file then. There were still victims going to the FBI with new information. And that changed this past July when the Trump administration closed the case. And here's another difference. Under Joe Biden, Maxwell, the leader of Epstein's twisted child sex trafficking ring, got sent to a maximum security prison. Under Trump, she got sent to a prison so lax they call it Club Fed. And Trump shrugs when asked if he might pardon her. He says he wishes her well. This is a sick joke. Fast forward to now, after months of Donald Trump and Republican leadership trying to block the release of the Epstein files, Democrats, along with a few Republicans, were able to force a vote to release the files in the House. That has now passed the House and the Senate. And from here, we'll need to keep up the pressure to ensure that Attorney General Bondi follows the letter of the law and doesn't try any funny business to obstruct the Epstein files further. We already saw President Trump recently order so-called investigations into his political enemies. I'm not worried about those people one bit. We need to let the chips fall where they may and push for justice. However, none of us should view these sham investigations as legitimate reason for Trump to keep blocking the release of the Epstein files. What Jeffrey Epstein did was sick and wrong. No matter how powerful or wealthy you are, you should not be able to get away with that kind of stuff. It is time to release the files. Survivors deserve transparency and justice, and the perpetrators deserve accountability.